I said I do this one. If you are trying to work on programs for your local club, you're looking for a program idea. One of the ones, there's my Yankee accent coming into I hear. One of the programs I also do is brood frames, reading brood frames, literally taking a brood frame out. It works whether you do it in the apiary or outside. If you're interested in that to do as a local program, I'll be glad to send the PowerPoint. You can make your own just as well. And I would offer the same opportunity here for the bee math. So if you like some of this and you think you could use it for your program, just give me, it'll download, unless your inbox is pretty full, it should download pretty easily. Okay, so this is some beekeeping math without anxiety, using numbers to better understand your bees. Sometimes we need a help, when we're beginning, we need that mentor. So maybe with the bee math, I don't see too many sons and daughters or grandsons and granddaughters here to help us with the math. So we'll call upon a mentor as we go through the program maybe, just to maybe help us with some of these numbers, okay? Now, you are going to have to keep your own score, okay? So there's about 24 questions in this, but sort of 10 major ones. And I do 10 because most of us still have 10 digits. So you can tick. If you get it right or not, you can up or down, whatever you want. So keep your own score, all right? We'll check on results as we go along later on. Okay. So I'm going to throw out some warm-up questions. These are not among the 10. Some warm-up questions. Got a queen bee there. So warm-up, how many legs on this queen? 6. Any other numbers? Well, of course, bees, insects have 6. Actually, the number here is 4 because you can't see 2 of the 6. Okay? All right, let's throw another warm-up out there. How many body sections on this queen? 3. Any other numbers? 3 body regions, head, thorax, abdomen. Yep, okay, very good. That's a good warm-up. All right. You see where I'm going with this, perhaps? Okay. How many wings on this queen? 1. 4. 2. As I said, we get 3 beekeepers up here, we'll get 9 answers. You can see that that's occurring already, right? Okay, so 2 pair. Yeah, or 2, easily, because they fold over the abdomen, okay? Okay, doing good. Kind of see where I'm going? Do you kind of guess what this next number might be? How many right antenna on this queen? 1. You're in with the game now, right? You're following the numbers. Yeah, 1. So 4, 3, 2, 1. So all the answers are up to 10, okay, in our bee math. And I keep it that way because, well, it's the afternoon. We've been through some interesting talk. Got to get up yet for Debbie Delaney's talk on some real interesting stuff coming up. So I'll keep the numbers in that category. All right, question 1. Tuffy, you capture a swarm in a bait box, hide them. How many days do you wait to check if you have a mature or virgin queen? Okay, so here's the bait box, by the way. This is the new design of bait boxes. You get that at any of the UPS, any of the moving stores, whatever. Put a couple of pieces of wood on that, and that just fits a standard frame. So pick out an old, ugly standard frame, not one of these foundations, put it in there. And because you got that wood on the end, the box doesn't lose its shape. If someone vandalizes it or steals it, you don't have an awful lot of investment. Okay, bait box, okay. So you capture a swarm. So this is going to be a range, probably. So am I keeping it under 10? Is the minimum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is the maximum 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Okay, so this is the first one. So pick out a number minimum and pick out a number maximum. Write it down. Okay, if you got a pen, write it on your hand here, so you have it. Whatever you might think. All right. Well, this is really a question asking, did you capture a mated, or what did that swarm have a virgin or virgin queens? More than one queen. Okay, so that's really what we're getting after and trying to get to this question. So, mated queen. How many minimum? How many maximum? If you check between day 4 and 10, we just went to our mentor, okay, we need a mentor. And if you find eggs or queen, you have a mature mated queen. But what if it was a virgin? Well, okay, I kind of fudged a little bit. I said answer between 1 and 10. We got to go a bigger number than 10, right? By the time she gets strong enough, gets established, gets out and mates. So how many more than? 4 to 10, whoops. No. Mature queen can start laying eggs on day 3, usually after we hive the swarm. So that's why that, no sense going day 3 if she's got just a few eggs, so day 4 to 10. Now virgin queen has to mate and then develop eggs which take at least 11 days. Okay, so that's a number bigger than 10. Sorry I threw that out. Okay, all right, good. Keeping score, that was your first question, I think it was, right? 4 to 10, greater than 10. All righty, here's B Math 2. That was 1. So B Math 2. You see a capped queen cell right there, right below that top bar. Could have been a supersedure cell, could have been emergency cell, okay? When checked 10 days later, she had emerged, but you did not see eggs. Why? Why now eggs? She hasn't mated yet. Yeah, when she comes out of the capped queen cells. So 4 to 10 is too early. She's not a mated queen. So our answer is going to be more than 10. Yeah, right. Okay? You checked too soon. And how many times has your mentee come and says, I don't think I got a queen? How many times? This concept of it takes time to do some of these things. Queen events are very traumatic for bees. I mean, everyone's involved. They know what's going on, and can be awful traumatic for the beekeeper when you want to see the results right away. Okay. All righty. All right, so here's what we're looking for. Eggs in cells. And as you know, as a newbie beginning, this is a skill. They're not easy to see, never easy to see. Skill we kind of have to develop so that we can, are able to be able to see that. Well placed, more or less in the center, sticking upright towards the end of their development. Maybe this one up here, probably that one here, for you over here, this one here. They're pretty close to molding into the larva. They don't hatch really, but they're pretty close. And because instead of sticking upright, they've leaned over. Okay? So you can even kind of guess age of eggs. All right? So that's a skill we got to develop. If we're worried that we don't have a queen, it's queenless, it's going to take us 14 plus days really before laying workers really kick in. Now, my Afghanized bees, it's only half that time. Afghanized bees do everything faster. Develop faster, fly longer, go through the development, swarm more, everything faster than European bees. But if you're really worried, you're not going to see this position of eggs. You're going to see multiple eggs, anywhere from 5 to 15 per cell, and they just don't have the skill to put one there nice and neat on the bottom, sticking up. So you still know you're looking at a queen laid eggs versus workers. All right, a bonus question. That was question 2. So bonus question to question 2, B Math 2, is what's the earliest you could expect to see eggs? From what? What's my answer here? From the requeening of the colony by the emerged virgin queen. 2 weeks. Others? 30 days. 12, 13 days. Okay. Earliest, probably day 11. I mean, that would be a queen on a fast track to mating. Okay? She only went out one time. She might have mated with 60 drones at one time. By the way, that's a new record. Have you heard that new record? 1 queen, 60 drones, 1 flight. She may do all that on one, I don't know where that comes from, but just believe me, okay? I can't give you a reference. But I heard it, so it's true beef fact, okay? Huh? Read it on the internet. There we go. There we go, right? Right up. Old man like me reading stuff on the internet, that's dangerous, isn't it? My God. Okay, another bonus question on this. What could add days before you see eggs from this, colony requeening itself? What could add days? Yeah, I led off with that one with the talk last time. So weather. And then the last bonus here, what might complicate seeing eggs? Age, your eyes. That's where the grandkids got to come in, right? Got to get the grandkids out there, or the kids? Yeah, exactly. Eyesight. Okay, they're tough to see, no question, and it's a skill. All right, let's go to 3. B math 3. You find 3 capped cells, queen cells, on the bottom of a frame. This actually is a Miller frame, another non-grafting method to get queen cells, okay? So you place it into a nuke with 2 frames of brood. You create that resource hive. How many queens will you have? 1, 3, possibly 0. Other answers? Possibly 2, possibly 3. Okay, got some good answers. Real unanimity. So 1, 2, or 3 is a pretty good answer, right? So pick one for your third one. Let's see how we do. Have to go to our mentor on this. Okay, so let's ask our B mentor. We had that situation, 3 capped queen cells. We let it go to fruition, emergence, etc. So how many have? Yeah, you figured it out already, most of you. It is a trick question, right? Because we end up with 1. So the cell nearest me here, this one here, has been chewed at the bottom, the queen released. But look what's happened to cell 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've been chewed from the side. That queen went around and harvested, killed, actually the workers do the killing, but made the destruction of her potential rivals, okay? Now that may or may not be the case. Of course, if they're going to do an after swarm, often the worker bees have capped fully matured queens inside. They've imprisoned them inside the cells. So that then when the whole excitement of bees racing around and saying, let's go, it's time to go, and we're off, when that happens, then there's a lot of prison breaks. And so often that after swarm will have more than 1 queen because of this situation. In this case, the first queen came out, that didn't occur, and so she went and harvested the others. Okay, so 1. How'd you do? A lot of people said 1, so that's pretty good. Give yourself a check mark on question number 3, all right? First to emerge. Okay, here's 4. Question 4. How many phases are varroa mites found in a colony? Places, phases, and it's hard to phrase this question. So it's going to be a 1, 2, or 3 as your answer. 2, I hear. More? A lot of people are going to write down on your scorecard 2. Okay. So there's a phase that we find them. That's the Pyretic Phase. That's a riding around. The term literally means riding around, hitching a ride. But some of these some of these mites are actually feeding on the vitellogen and on the fat body. So they're just not riding around. And basically, this one there on the thorax, the top one here, likely is one that's about is ready to look for a cell to slip into as a mature one. This one here might be more looking for the feeding site, so she's going to be on that adult another 2 or 3 days, maybe. And a mature might be on an adult host maybe a week or so. Okay, so that's one phase. So that's the Pyretic phase on the adult. And so what's the other phase? I think Jennifer had showed this slide earlier. Those are drones. So that is the reproductive phase. So the best answer was 2. A lot of people guess that. Look at this cell. Look how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mites have invaded that brood cell. That poor guy. I think what's Jennifer? Guy. That poor boy. Yeah. And so 2. How'd you do? Many people got that one. All right. That was question 4. 5. How many we're going to multiply one of those simple numbers by 100. Bees, do you need to monitor the number of mites in your colony? Now I'm showing the two most effective monitoring ways. Sugar shake, okay, that first jar here, sugar shake, okay. So how many bees are in there? Versus alcohol wash. This is Randy Oliver's 2 solo cups, 2 of the clear drinking cups. Cut the bottom off of one, buy this veil material, wrap it around all the way around the bottom of this, and then it fits into the other one. So you cut up a little bit from the bottom. Or this is a 2 jar, and so here's the number of bees there, okay? So let's go to our mentor. So what are our guesses? 3. Any 2s? One piece of instrument does say 2, okay? But with these methods, we'd like to look at 300 bees. So it is 3, okay? Get a check mark there, right? Got a check mark, got it, okay? 300 bees from the brood area. So it's a brood frame. Now we're always with alcohol in danger of capturing a queen. So a good way to capture these 300 bees is bring a white dish pan, bring an empty honey bucket with you, the 5-gallon, the 60-pound bucket, and shake brood frame in there. Now the queen will then look in there, so you can look around. You might not see her on the frame because she's dark against the dark frame, but against that nice white interior, she'll be clumped and there'll be workers around her, so you can really easily see her. And then take a half-cup scoop, go in with a half-cup scoop, and put that in your collecting container, that wide-mouth mason jar or your alcohol container. The alcohol is actually more effective, to tell you the truth. The alcohol wash is more effective than is the sugar shake. And mainly because we try to rush the sugar shake. So I have a tool that you might be able to use here, all right? What we recommend with the sugar shake, collect your 300 bees, then thoroughly powder sugar them. Confectionery sugar, sugar that you run through a mill so it's real powdery. Thoroughly powder them as you see here. So they're all down the bottom. They can't fly. They're already pretty much sugared up already. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to collect not just the phoretic ones that were ready to slip in a cell, but the phoretic mites that we're actually feeding on those bee bodies. So the thing you need to do is set this aside for a minute, a couple minutes. If it's in the sun, not much more than a minute or so. If it's shady, maybe a little bit longer. Then come back and shake them. You really got to shake them vigorously, right? You know it's ready to do your sample if after you set them in the sun or you set them in the shade, you come back and feel the bottom of that mason jar. And it really feels hot to your hand, okay? Now you know there's been enough time to separate the mites. So we say shake them for a minute, set it aside for a minute, and then shake them again before you pour them out. A minute's a long time, isn't it? You're trying to do the sample? So I've got a suggestion for you, okay? If you are in an out apiary, your apiary is well isolated, what I suggest you do is to, while you're doing the shaking with the sugar shake, okay, shaking them in after you put the powdered sugar in, sing, loudly or whatever, take me out to the ball game, take me out to the park. By the time you finish the stanzas, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. You will have about a minute. It'll work. Make that minute pass. Now if you're in the backyard and neighbors wonder what you're doing there anyway, all dressed up in your space suit, smoker going, etc., maybe just hum it. Now, maybe you forgot, take out one song you probably have never forgotten. If you'd like to use that one instead, I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener. And that's a little bit short stand, so you got to do that twice. Then you'll have your minute of shake. Okay? That was thrown as an extra. That wasn't on any of the bee math. Why 300 instead of 200? It's a crapshoot. There's small numbers, and we're going to be looking at asking you a very small percentage on those adults. So 300 just kind of improves the chance. If per chance you have one of these fancy CO2 chambers, they're going to tell you only 200 in that one. And a half a cup is 300 bees, and they'll go across the top of it, okay? He says the bees never sting him. And of course, then he rubs his finger on his suit to get the stings out of his finger. But All right, so 300 was the answer, so 3. So that was math number question, whatever we're up to, all right? All right, here's a bonus. Here's a bonus. That powdered sugar is used for sampling. What about for control with powdered sugar? So here we are, we've done our hive inspection, we're ready to close it up, and we put a ton of powdered sugar there. We've got lots of money, a lot of powdered sugar. And we're going to then brush it down between the frames, okay? We're going to kill brood with that, but if the worker bees get enough, it'll cause drop. And if you have a screen bottom board, they're going to drop through the screen bottom board at the bottom. So it's a mite control, okay? So get powdered sugar on all these bees. So, you know, you'll be cleansing those Pyretic bees, all right? Why, if you did it one time a week for 3 weeks, doesn't it work? It doesn't work 26 days. You want to go through a couple brood cycles, okay? So you want to go a couple, 21 days is kind of the minimum, 12 days for the cat brood. So 24 days is a better number instead of 3 weeks. Of course, the other thing is the math just doesn't work, okay? To really be effective, sugar dusting is going to have to be at 3-day intervals for at least 2 generations, so you're 24 plus days. So what are we looking at? 7 plus. 7 plus of those powdered sugar. That's killing a fair amount of brood, because any of that powdered sugar that gets into an open brood cell will kill it, okay? And I mean, you know, that's a lot of work, you know, powdered sugar. So the math just doesn't work. That was a bonus. Okay. Mice multiply astronomically, you know that. If female mice gets in a worker cell, generally with our European bees, she can rear at least 1 reproductive female. And if it gets into a drone cell, she can rear 2, more frequently 3 offspring. They know the difference, we know the difference, they know the difference, and so they can selectively go whichever they want. And I showed you this before, where mite monitoring, sampling gets real critical this time of year. Fall season, okay? So here's question 6, working right through these. In a swarm, what is the fraction of the total mite numbers that are present that were in the colony the swarm came from? In a swarm. So I'll give you some numbers. This is a fraction question. I'm sorry we went from whole numbers to fractions already. Isn't that fast? It takes a whole grade level to do this in grade school, but we're going rapidly here. Is it a half, is it a third, or is it a sixth? Half or a third? This is question 6. Is it a half, is it a third, or is it a sixth? Okay, let's go to our bee mentor, ask her some questions on this. So here are some numbers. If we look at the total number of mites in a colony as 100%, how many are Pyretic and how many are brood? Well, we can guess about a third are riding around on bees, maybe a few less, and 2/3 are in brood, okay? So of those adult bees in a swarm, how many come out with the swarm? How many stay home? It varies, but again, we can roughly say half, all right? So a half of the 33% had mites, so 16.7, all right? If we look at let's say the colony had 12 total mites, that means there were 4 on Pyretics, 8 on mites under cats. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but you know, check with your grandson that I've done okay, with his granddaughter that I've done okay. So in the swarm, numbers of the 4 are only 2. So 2/12, believe it or not, 2/12 was 1/6. How'd you do? Yeah, got a few hands, right? 1/6. That is the bee's way, and my Africanized bee way especially, to keep ahead of mites. That's how they keep ahead of it. That's why bee trees don't have as many issues with mites killing the bee tree colony, because they're swarming a lot more, okay? And also, by the way, no, I should say, also, by the way, why those alternative hives don't quite sometimes have as much problem with mites, because they're smaller hives. But I wouldn't go to alternative hives for that reason. Here's our bonus. Now, if that swarm came from a bee tree, what's the average volume in liters with a 0 at times 10 of the cavity? How big are bee trees? 4. Any other numbers? So that'd be 40. 4 times 0, 40. Is that it? No other guess numbers? Okay, let's go to our mentor. It is 4, because 40 liters, roughly the size of a standard box, 10 framer, laying stock box, is what Tom Seeley and others have measured as the volume of those natural bees. Okay? They're small and they swarm more often. Okay? That's just the nature of it. Okay? They swarm more often, and that helps them keep ahead of mice. Bee math question number 7. How many issues negatively impact bee health? All of those, and many more. Contrails, okay? Contrails, what else have I got on there? GMOs, of course, why not? Nutrition, pesticides, beekeepers, okay? CCD, BPMS. Well, that's more than a 10, so this isn't a fair question. So let me rephrase question 10, revise bee math question 7. Okay, so what is number 1? Yeah, you heard me earlier. You were listening, you were paying attention. Okay, Varroa is number 1. Although, there it is, look how many on that for pre-pupa in the cell. And incredible, they're going to have a chance to survive. Although many would like to say a different answer here. What's your other good answer here? Bingo, the beekeeper themselves. Okay, I'll give you credit for either one. How'd you do? Okay, bee math question 7. Did you get that right? Let's go on to 8. How many different acid treatments target only the phoretic mite populations? Were you here for Jen? Hope you were. Good information on oxalic acid. Is it 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 3. I'll take a number. That's the phoretics, of course. Not the reproductives, the phoretics. Take a number away. Still within your guess number. Take another number away. Did you have 2? That's the right answer. Because there's the oxalic acid, and there is the dribble or vaporization, and there's hot guard. Okay? Hot guard is relatively new, it's messy, but people that use it like it. And these only work when there really is no brood. We're wasting our time and really hurting our bees by using these materials when there's brood present. So only phoretic mites. Now, there's yet a 3rd acid, so why wasn't 3 the answer? There's hot guard too. So why not 3 acids? The 3rd acid, of course, is formic. Less powerful than oxalic. Jennifer showed that. All right. Here's quick strips, and of course now we have proformic. Proformic is so you get better shelf life. Nice new product, better shelf life, and also it's a longer treatment. Instead of a 7-day, it's a 14-day treatment. Many of us have realized that if you give a colony these 2 strips, the full dose of these pads, you do something else that generally is not very good for your colony. You kill queens. Okay, so why not 3? Because it kills the queens. But why would we then ever want to use this product? Okay. Because it penetrates the cappings of capped cells and kills the male mite. So that when Mrs. Mite raises a mature female, that mature female has no male to mate with, doesn't have a brother any longer. He's dead from your treatment. And so they don't mate, and so those mature females aren't able to lay eggs that are going to continue the bee. Okay? So it's targeting those males. All right, how many synthetic compounds still kill 95% of phoretic and reproductive mite populations? 1. Not 2, not 3, 1. Good answer. And that, of course, is apivar. But we have a huge restriction, and that is we don't want to feed it when there's honey on colonies. Okay? And we're not permitted to do so. And the treatment period is a 42 to 56 day, okay, 6 to 8 weeks. So we're kind of restricted when we can use this material. Really are restricted for many of us it's post-harvest. Finally, how many organic oil treatments kill phoretic and reproductive mite populations? 1, 2, or 3? This is question number 9. So on your score sheet, mark 9. You're going to guess 1, 2, or 3. So these are the essential oils. How many do we have? We have more than 1. We don't have 3. We have 2. Okay? So 2. Okay? We have Apolite Bar and Apigar. Both thyme oil, Apolite Bar has some other materials. Slightly different technology. They're fumigants, so you put an extra rim on your colony, as you can see here for the Apiguard, extra rim. Put it on top. Don't close the openings. Don't close the bees in with this material. Okay. Essential oils. We use them all the time in our cooking and our pumpkin pie. That's all it is. It's no more pumpkin anymore. It's the essential oils of what pumpkin is. They're powerful materials. Don't handle these without gloves. People will get some awful reaction to this. Okay. Medication. And so then I asked the question, why not use? This is a bonus question. Screen bottom board, drone brood removal, brood cycle break. Why not use non-chemical treatments? Not 100%? The biggest drawback of these is it takes smart beekeepers. Oops, did I just say that? It really does, because they only work under certain circumstances and are not getting, you're keeping a lid on, hopefully a lid on population, okay? So I will return that or not. Why not? Why not? Why not? Okay? We should be. We should be using an integrated approach. Any program that is dependent upon chemical treatment for mites is doomed to failure, because the mites will find an alternative way to do what they need to do. You heard Jen say, we don't even know why oxalic acid is killing mites. Some of these cases we do not know. So, to finish up this question, what one thing works best? What one thing works best? I gave this away as a clue earlier in my earlier talk. Genetics. Mom. The stock. We got to have bees better able to fight mice, and us have to do less to help them. Right now, we have to do a lot. Let's back ourselves out of this. Okay, become dumber beekeepers once again, while we have bees that are doing a better job against fighting mice. Okay? Break the brood cycle, requeen with hygienic. Well, that's two things, but same thing as a conflict. Okay? Okay, let's wind down a couple easy ones. So I warmed you up, so we've been pretty intense. So let's wind down with a couple of them. What was Matt Langshaw's mathematical observation? We're back to a fraction. 3/8, right. Okay, so he measured between these. He had a carpenter build 25 hives even before he knew it would work. Okay, leap of faith. And it is 1/4 to 3/8. Depends on the bee. I have to go a little bit less with Afghanized bees. I have to go closer to 1/4. So what if we mess that number up and we have greater space? What is happening here? So what happened? They put an extra comb, and then we got issues. Okay, let's use the other side of the brain for our last wind down. The other side of the brain, 2007. What was the correct queen color? Whoa, got a lot of good answers. Yes, yellow. Yeah, okay. Looked at the catalog, okay. Now, a way that you can remember this, okay, so now we're really testing the other side of the brain, all right? The way you can remember this, do you ever use these mnemonics that try to, will you raise good bees? White, yellow, red, green, blue. The other one I like, what, you raise green bees? Okay, white, yellow, red, green, bee. You have to know to start not on 0, but start on 1 and 6. Okay, the first one white. So 7, 2022, not that far away, right? We're back to yellow. All right, good. See what else we got. Okay, finally, number 1 best new plant for beekeeper. Oh, I showed you this already. Wonder why we're back to there. A way of explanation, we're allowed 3 plants in our yard in Oregon because we are now using recreational marijuana. Okay? So that's not that my daughter's a pothead, she just likes marijuana, and I love the brownies. All right, so how did you do with your bee math? How did you do? Okay, check your score. How many had all 10? How many had all 9? How many had 8? There we go. Look at it. How many had 7? How many had only 1? 1 admitted. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay. So I would say that if you had those high numbers, 5 or more, you get an A. But for the rest of us, why not? We get a B. Thank you. And if you could use this for your club, just email me. I'd be glad to attach it if your inbox isn't completely full. What have we got? 3. Got some time? Questions? Question in the back.
I have heard about contrails. How do they kill bees?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch much of that. Say again, please.
You have contrails up there to kill bees. How does it do it?
Contrails. Contrails. Now take the gloves off and let's start talking about these things. Same as eclipses. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for the feed. We don't know. There's an awful lot of airplanes up there, and they're all leaving stuff up there that is not normally up there. And there is a guy in California, otherwise seems very normal, but he has made some correlations with contrails and how bad our bees are doing. Others will take pesticides. We'll try to, we've really been having trouble with bees since neonic's been used. Make that correlation. So it works for contrails as well as neonics. It's not cause and effect. It may not be. It may or may not be. Neonics may or may not be cause, but maybe just correlation. Or this guy could be a frequent visitor in Oregon to sample our wares, our new product up there. Question, comment? What do I think of thermal treatment? Cold and heat are very ancient methods, and both do work against varroa mites. There's a couple neat solar type panel uses that you might get. Just don't get hot spots. Make sure you have a fan somehow attached to it. And some people like to try to keep bees at an upper temperature limit, heat, more than the cold, and feel that they have better success. There are fewer mites that are in those particular colonies. We know it does work. Our issue is a little bit how to deliver that heat, keep it constant without getting heat pockets and without getting without getting a meltdown, literal meltdown. So yeah, heat and cold do work. Yes, question? Over here. There we are. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. What color is my daughter's honey? In Oregon, we get blackberry honey. I was brought up in New York State, and you couldn't do any better than basswood. Best honey. White, water white with a greenish tint to it. Stays in your mouth. I taught at Delaware for 29 years, and our honey there was tulip poplar. A reddish tint to it, a dark honey, just the best honey in the world. Since moving to Oregon in 2009, I got to say that blackberry is mighty, mighty, mighty fine honey. Meadow foam, the blackberry is a darker honey, again, darker honey, also has a bit of a reddish cast to it. But we're not talking about the blackberries you plant, we're talking about a wild Himalayan blackberry. That grows everywhere. Some consider it a pest, a weed, which is just a plant out of place. And it's dark, but again, it stays in the mouth, it has great mouth appeal. Breathe back through your nose after you try it. Particularly do this with the black jars over here on the side. Put it in your mouth, breathe back through your nose so you get the whole effect. Leave it in your mouth for just a couple, 3 seconds, and then swallow it. And so what you're looking in terms of your tasting is what is it giving you in mouth appeal, that initial, and then lasting mouth appeal, plus then what is it doing down your throat, okay? So that would be a good way to, and of course we know honey. Honey is coffee, is like chocolate, growing chocolate. It's very much like grapes. The plants are rooted in soil, and they're serviced by water. and of course then sunlight. And so you have a sense of place in growing coffee beans and growing grapes for wine, and also in what the bees are collecting for nectar. A very general term, if you want to Google it, is terroir. Well, O-I-R at the end, terror, not terror, but terroir. And it's a sense of place. And that's what you're doing when you sell your local honey. You're selling a place where the bees collected that particular flavor, that particular nectar. And so I've got to say, we don't get too much big leaf maple. Big leaf maple is just lovely. It almost is like without adding vanilla to your honey, has like a vanilla smooth flavor. But our general is blackberry honey. And although she's in a suburb of Portland, that's still the major honey we get blackberry. Very long answer, but maybe that gave you a sense. All the way in the back. My Africanized stock in South America. So what am I doing? Am I requeening? We're continually dividing colonies because if they get too big, they leave, they abscond, okay? And you have to continually harvest from them because if they get too much stored, they leave, just abscond, just go away. So what am I doing in terms of my stock? And the answer is I am eliminating the worst of the stock. I am physically getting rid of the worst. And in 1 year, I will grow some more colonies by simply making splits from my selected stock, from the best of my stock. And without any real good evidence, I think over a period of years, we generally have a bee that we can manage. I was kidding about 100 stings. Well, it happens some days, but most days it does not. There are days I take my gloves off and work them. And so you just kind of keep pecking away at it. You get rid of the worst swarms, you get rid of the worst defensive behaviors, and you just accept that you're going to, work with what you have. And so if I've got to get rid of 2 or 3 colonies, I'll go ahead and split my best colony and make splits so that they're rearing their own queen from that. Not very sophisticated. Even with our European colonies, one of the hardest things to do is find a queen, if you want to requeen, finding that darn queen. Africanized bees, they are very light adverse, and so as soon as you open up the colony, she's gone. She's off on a journey. And so usually when you do look for a queen in an Africanized colony, you find her on a box, you find her off. If you pull a frame up out of the colony, the bees abandon it. No problem seeing brood, looking at brood diseases, looking at your brood pattern, because as soon as you pull that frame up into the light, the bees just all go off of it. In fact, they often hang on that bottom corner as a group rather than just falling off in space. But a vast majority just jump off, and then they're the ones that are around your veil. Yes, question, comment?
From this morning session, what is the country of origin of the Carniolan?
The Carniolan bee is from the Carniolan Mountains, which is roughly Slovenia, Georgia, the old parts of what we used to call Yugoslavia, those particular countries. So the Adriatic Sea eastward, okay, through the countries, and mostly a mountain bee. Not, there's not very much coast in any of the countries anyway, but mostly a mountain bee. The Caucasian bee comes from further east. That's the Caucasus Mountains. That's the southern Ukraine, the Crimea. That's where that was coming from. So when they went to collect the drone semen, they visited Slovenia, they visited Georgia, and they've also visited Serbia to get that drone stock. Question?
Saying you're having a lot of trouble with their performance. A lot of my bees are African, the biggest and strongest hive, and they more different.
So the comment is, he has, most of his bees are African, and they're the biggest, strongest colonies, and mostly they don't swarm. In various parts of where we have Africanized bees, there's been intermingling with the other stock. So where you get a lot of introduction of European bees into that stock, you don't get this absconding, just leaving, or as heavy a factor of swarming. However, for that upside, there's the downside, and that the more European stock you bring in, the more issues you have to deal with mites. Do you notice you have to deal with mites, or they're really suffer yet? Common guess. taking about 10% loss. Yeah. You know, when you intermingle these and you get hybrid vigor, which is good, but you get mixtures, there's really no pure African bee in the U.S. It is all somewhat of a mixture. And in various places, it's different amounts of mixturing, okay? You can keep Africanized bees as long as you can keep the European stock. Now, I could easily take your best queens from here down to South America, put them in colonies, but side by side with my African colonies, the European colonies would go downhill, would go downhill, would go downhill, would go downhill, and they just eventually within a year or two are gone, just gone completely, where I'm getting something from my Africanized bee colonies. And that's been done not just Texas queens, but queens from everywhere. We had a huge project in Panama where we were bringing in about 40,000 Hawaiian queens. We did this for 3 years, and virtually no impact at all in terms of what was happening with Panama. So it does vary. I indicated I use them to produce pollen. They're great pollen producers, and propolis, okay? And propolis, what I use is I have a sidebar on my colony that slides. So I'll take the two sides of the sidebar, open it about a finger's worth, so there's a gaping hole in the middle of their colony, okay? The size of the box. And usually I put a super on for this. Within about a day, 2 days at most, they'll fill that in with a finger's worth of propolis. And so I'll pull it one more time. In less than a week, I'll have 3 fingers worth of propolis from that side opening. Pure propolis, not mixed with anything else. And if I do that when I go down, I'm going to be doing this in November and early December, I'm going to be getting almost just eucalyptus propolis, which is a really good one of the good sources. So it amounts to an easy way. Eucalyptus, when you then start diluting it, goes faster than some of the other plants, where I don't know why, for some reason. So I'll have a finished product of about a 15% propolis tincture in about 6 months when I start with the eucalyptus propolis. And we do both liquid and we put it into products. The principal product we put it in is a cough drops, because traditionally it's the eye, ear, nose, throat treatments that you're doing with propolis, plus body covering, body cuts, issues, sores. Great for people that have to lie in a bed with serious injuries, people in comas, for example, get these sores. Just a little bit of this tincture, about 15%, will really help reduce those sores where, you know, of course, hospitals are trying to use the best new antibiotic they can find to try to treat those people that are really bedridden and can't move around in the bed. Propolis will do the job in no time. Propolis, just as with honey, you get less scarring and a faster healing of cuts and sores and things on your body. So both of them work pretty well. And of course, bees use it. Propolis is the original antimicrobial. I mean, they use it for everything. We think one of the reasons bee trees are often healthier than our colonies that might be sitting close by is because of that propolis envelope. It's also better for the winter in that moisture absorption, okay? The way you can encourage more propolis is get away from this nice polished wood. Make the interior of your hives just as rough as you can make them. Take a file and just rough up that. What the bees will do is they will then smooth that through with propolis. And so you're creating in our artificial domicile, our hives, that propolis seal. Maybe the top bar hive, maybe the wary hive has some advantages because we're not bothering it as much. You know, so we're not breaking that seal of propolis that bees are trying to put around their nest inside of those hives. We can do the same with our Langstroth hives as well. And of course, if you have small hive beetle at all, low populations, the bees are using a propolis jail to try to hold those adults in one place. As soon as you lift up that cover, it's jailbreak for all those small hive beetles that the bees have been holding there on top. So propolis, I guess I'm sold. I hope I sold you on propolis, right? Question? Side of a box, that much, ½ inch, gaping hole in the side of the box, pulling it out, just pulling it out. And they just don't like that, all of a sudden, a slot that way in their colony. On my slider, yeah, one side. Actually, I've got, the way the guy designed them, I can slide both sides, but, yeah. Same thing. Question?
You get, say, 2 new hives for spring, when would you recommend to requeen, or should you just wait to see how they?
Fantastic question. You get 2 new hives in the spring. When should you requeen? How long should you let them go? And again, there is no one answer. If you get them early spring, and the queen has really produced a lot of brood, she probably may not repeat that the next season. So requeening later in the year. I mentioned earlier, good use for resource hives is after they've done what they're going to do for the major part of the season, there's nothing those bees are going to do anymore for you. They're just going to be